happy with yourself, you need to disconnect from social. Yeah, okay, yeah.
Welcome to the Mindfulmess Show Podcast. My name is Maddy.
And I'm Marina. And on this podcast, we will talk about how we can live our best lives all unfiltered.
And just a quick disclaimer, everything we're going to be talking about on this podcast is from our own experiences, super raw and unfiltered. So in no way, shape, or form do we mean to offend anyone.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, long time no see, but we've been talking every day, haven't we?
Yes, it's been a long week. Welcome back to the Mindfulmess Show Podcast.
Welcome back. Who's excited? We've been getting a lot of nice feedback, and we really want to thank you for that, because a lot of people have been listening.
Yes, and that's scary, but really exciting. So
yeah, I mean, you've already found out quite a few things about us.
Maybe not enough.
Exactly. Maybe more than we would share over a first cup of coffee, but definitely it's not the last thing we're sharing about ourselves. We're going to be getting more and more vulnerable by the episode.
So stay tuned.
And today we have such a special topic that is very close to our heart. Happiness. All about happiness. And I'm actually really nervous doing this episode because I've been doing a bit of research, let's say, and putting down ideas that I have about happiness because I just wanted it to be a good episode, but not perfect, because remember, we're never chasing perfection. We're just going for progress. So we hope that this will be a very good episode, that you will learn some tools, because we want to be very practical with the advice as well, not only talk theory, right? And maybe find out some things about us too.
Maybe. For sure. Yeah, so I feel like what Maddy said, I think this episode is very dear to my heart as well. And I think everyone is not, I think a lot of people are not talking about happiness that much. And I think it's a subject that's not always approached because, if you want to get into it, I think the definition of happiness is different for everyone, but I feel the social norms are teaching us that, happiness is this feeling you get when something really, really good happens, and it's like a 10-second feeling and you're super oh my God, I'm so excited. And then it fades. And then you always need to achieve something or do something to always get to that feeling. And I think this is where the misconception comes from. What do you think?
Yeah, and we were talking about that, about the happiness blueprint, right? So a lot of us throughout our lives decide what things need to happen for us to be happy, right? So let's say, in order for you to be happy, you need to get this number of likes on Instagram, or you need to get attention from this person, or you need to achieve X amount of money. I mean, the examples are endless, but a lot of these things don't actually depend on you. So there are a lot of external things. So the way I see happiness and how you can achieve happiness on a more normal everyday basis is changing your blueprint. So finding happiness in the little things, right? So it can be, you can decide that, having a meaningful conversation with someone is going to make you happy, or giving someone a compliment is going to make you happy, or having a nice cup of tea is going to make you happy. So when you look at happiness from these little small angles, then it's much easier to sustain it, right? Because I feel like my definition of happiness has changed a lot in the past months or even weeks. I used to have this sort of belief that in order to be happy, I have to have this amount of money, and this needs to happen, and that needs to happen. If that doesn't happen, then I'm going to be unhappy, and my life will basically be a failure, right? And I think honestly, in the past weeks, I've had some amazing moments of happiness, and they were so small. They're a road trip with good music, or having a nice conversation with someone, or just being by myself and reading a book. And if you can find happiness in the little things, then it becomes easier. What do you think?
No, I completely agree. Before going into my spiritual journey of self-discovery and all that, I always thought that happiness is, like I said, is this glimpse you get of super excited, this super amazing feeling that fades away, and then you always need to achieve. So, throughout high school and also like in my uni days, I was also like an achiever, so I was like, okay, I need to get the grade. I'll feel happy when I get the grade. I'll be happy. Or like, oh, I want to go on a vacation. I'll be happy when I'll be there. And it's always this kind of I'll be happy when. So I realized that when the moment came and I got the grade, I didn't even care. Like it lasted like literally 5 seconds of me being, oh, that's cool. And then I switched to another subject. And now that I'm doing this kind of self-discovery, I was like, okay, well, I need to change my definition, the blueprint, like you said. And then everything kind of started to fall into place. And I think many people have this definition wrong because this is how we're taught.
And if you're not happy in the journey, right? Because, you going towards that grade, there was probably a lot of frustration and anger and, you being bored and you being like, I just want to get this grade. But the process of it wasn't a pleasant one. And I was actually having this conversation with someone yesterday, and it brought up a lot of feelings in me because I'm happy at the moment, right? I'm constantly happy more than I have ever been. But we were talking about these aspects about how I find myself to always chase something, right? So I've always, exactly as you said, I've been a perfectionist and an overachiever. So I've always chased the best grades and getting, checking all my goals and stuff like that. But ultimately, when I would get to those goals, I wouldn't feel happiness. And I would still feel like I wasn't good enough. And as many compliments or, getting people to tell me, oh, you're amazing, you did so well, like it still wouldn't soothe me in a way, because number one, I wasn't happy with myself and I wasn't confident and proud of myself. And number two, I wasn't enjoying the process. So I was just chasing something, but not enjoying the journey towards it, right?
Yeah, I agree. Because, like we're taught that the destination is what matters and not the journey. So it's always like, oh, like I want a car, I want that, I want the grade, I want everything, but never like the journey to get there. And I didn't know exactly when, like you read or you see that this Gary V quotes about like the journey and everything. I was like, what he's talking about, But now I'm actually realizing that, it's actually about the journey. If you're not happy right now in the present moment, right now with yourself, then you're not happy, even when you're gonna achieve what you wanted. And it's very weird because I think like also like growing up, we have this idea that a relationship is gonna make us happy, or somebody else will come and validate who we are and our feelings. And I think we've both been there, and it's not happening like that. It's actually very, very like harsh on your mental health, I think, if you don't know who you are.
And it's harsh on your partner, I think, as well. Yeah. We should do a whole episode on relationship.
Yes.
But I think that when you expect the other person to make you happy, you're just going to accumulate a lot of frustration, because you're going to project your needs onto that other person. And when he doesn't or she doesn't meet your needs, then you're just going to be frustrated at them and unhappy. And that's just going to cause a lot of tension between you two, right? So I think in an ideal relationship, both people are happy and they meet together and they bring that happiness to another level, but they're able to grow with each other. They're able to communicate with each other better, and they don't depend on each other to be happy, right? I think it's so important. That was such a good point.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's true. It's what's happening. And this is what I've also like kind of find out now that I'm on my journey to happiness. And I found out that for me, because everyone has a different definition of what happiness is, I think mine is more about being at peace with who I am right now in this moment, and not being disturbed by where I'm going or where I was before, and just being content and really like at peace with who I am right now. And I think again, like the definition is wrong, because happiness is perceived as this like, oh my God, amazing feeling. I've been saying that it's happening once in a while. But the truth is that happiness is also like being content, being like at ease and at peace with yourself. And it's not necessarily just that exciting feeling that you get when you achieve something or something you really wanted comes true. And I think when we're actually gonna admit that to ourselves, that, okay, like everyone has their own definition, what is my definition? And when we find out what's our definition, then we won't be so affected by what happens around us.
I really agree with that. And the idea of being at peace and calm, I think there's such a difference between being happy and calm and balanced, and being happy in the moment and getting that burst of excitement, right? Because I've been happy before when I've been like having these highs and lows all the time, like being really happy and then going really down. And I feel like recently I've been able to kind of sustain a level of happiness where I don't have to be super extra. Like I can be just happy and calm, and it's something that I've never experienced before. So I think that's what we should all aim for, to get to that level of calmness and being content and being in the moment. And I think a really nice tip for this is when you're experiencing a good moment, right? When let's say you're with friends and you're connecting really well, or with family, right? Just take a moment and pause and take it in. This is what I've been doing lately. I just stop, like maybe it looks a bit weird from the perspective of others, but I just stop and I take it in and I feel the emotion. I look around me, and then in the moments when I'm feeling a bit down, I go back to that memory and I think, how did I feel? What did I see? And then I create that same feeling in the moment, and that gets me back to that good state. I think that's a really nice tip. You should all try it because it works. You just imagine a good time you had and play it back in your mind, and it works. You feel better.
That's really amazing. I mean, I never really tried it, so I will actually try what you're saying. And I think, yes, so it's all about like being in the moment. And before reading The Power of Now, I never actually knew what was being in the moment. I always felt like I'm in the moment. And when I started reading the book, I realized like, oh, actually, no, I'm not in the moment. I'm not in the present. I don't even know. Like, I'm always thinking in the future. I'm always like, what I'm going to do tomorrow. Oh my God, stress, pressure. And I didn't really enjoy myself. And I think that also comes with self-development, like reading this kind of books or watching this kind of people. It's like, it brings something in you. And I think that's what happened in my case.
But that's the thing, you can't be always in the moment. Like that's obvious. You can't always be in the moment. Sometimes you have to think about the future. Sometimes you have to be involved in things that relate to the future, but you have to actively and mindfully take time in the day to do that. And I'm not going to, be fake and say that, yeah, every day I take 30 minutes for myself. I had times when I used to do it, but now I've been waking up in the morning, checking my phone, getting to work, not even taking these moments for myself. And after yesterday's conversation, I realized that, okay, there's some things I still have to work on. So I need to take those 30 minutes every morning, wake up a bit earlier, and take those 30 minutes just for myself to reflect, to maybe meditate, to journal, to read something that is going to help me grow, and just take that moment for myself and produce that happiness, actively work on that happiness.
Yeah, that's completely, like, I agree. To be honest, I'm not doing that now. Like, I know I should, like you said, but once I'm waking up, straight away, phone, messages, what I'm gonna do. So it's always projecting in the future, even though it's today, let's say, but it's all like what I'm gonna do in an hour, in 2 hours. And I think that also has a really, like, takes a toll on our mental health, because you're always like, what I'm gonna do in the future, even though the future is 1 hour, ahead. And I really feel like what you're saying, it's so important to actually take 30 minutes with yourself, or even 10 minutes if you don't have the time, but like just
I mean even those 5 minutes, if you have them, focus, breathe, just be there and try to let go of your thoughts, although it's so much easier said than done.
Yeah.
And anyone who's ever meditated knows how difficult it is at the beginning, so that's why you need to practice. But letting go of your thoughts for just a little bit will make such a big difference, and it will bring up your energy. It will make you feel better, and that changes your entire day. That's why I say do it in the morning, because if you start the day right, then your entire day is going to go much better. And also with a little gratitude practice. I think we talked about gratitude last time, but gratitude also helps with happiness.
Definitely. I think there's also a book, I don't really know exactly the author, but it's 29 days something, sorry, I really don't know it, but it really impressed me when I read it. I didn't read the book, but I read about it, that this woman actually was going through a disease. I think she was sick, and what she did was she went to this mentor, so this kind of like coach, and what the coach told her is like, take 29 days and each day give something back. And it was crazy because halfway through she actually sensed that something is changing inside her, and at the end of the 29 days she was actually healthy. And it's insane to think about it, but this is something I'm trying as well. I'm trying to donate, I'm trying to give back something, even something very small. Like even if you don't have the money to donate, let's say the means, just by, I don't know, like texting an old friend and being like, hey, how are you? Like, how was your day? How's your life? I haven't spoken to you in, like, I don't know, 5 years. And I think that's so important, because you're feeling better, right? Like, you really feel better inside.
And I actually learned this at, my friends are going to hear this now and they're going to be like, here she goes again with Tony Robbins. But I actually heard this at a Tony Robbins seminar I went to 2 years ago, I think it was, where I really understood the power of giving and the power of living a life with purpose, and that is driven by helping other people. Because I feel like, not necessarily, I don't think I was selfish, but I just didn't understand the impact that giving has, and what big of a difference it makes on how you feel as well. So I think that after I went to that seminar, I started being more mindful about what I do. So I started, donating. I organized these little projects that I haven't publicly talked about, because I don't think that you should necessarily like brag about the fact that you've been giving, right? You do it more for the other person and for yourself, and it actually makes you feel better, but I haven't shared with anyone. But I've been doing some stuff, to sort of give back more. And then last year in university, so people who were in my class maybe remember, at the end of our public speaking class, we had to do a speech, and I did it on giving, right? The secret to living is giving. And I researched like the effects of giving on our brain and on how we feel. And actually science shows that you really do feel better when you give. Like there's certain chemicals that are released, and you feel much better. And exactly as you said, you don't have to give money. You don't have to donate necessarily clothes. You can literally be kind to someone, or call your grandma. This is a good one. Call your grandma if you're blessed and lucky enough to have a grandma or a grandpa, and tell them that you love them and ask them how they're doing, because we often forget to do that, and those people are amazing.
Yes,
and
I completely agree.
It's gonna make their day, right?
I'm calling my grandma every day, actually, disclaimer. So I completely understand what you're saying. No, but it's true.
And how much it means to them. It means a lot, and they're gonna feel better, and you're gonna feel better.
Exactly. This is so sweet. I actually want to read your speech if you have it written down.
It's a video.
It's a video. Then I want to see it. I really want to see it. I'm so
funny. It's so funny because I researched it a lot, and it was a whole process. Like we had a few weeks of public speaking class, and then the final thing, we went on this little stage in the class, and we had to deliver it, and sort of move right on the stage and use the proper words and everything. But it was such a nice thing for my confidence as well, to be able to deliver that speech and know my stuff, because whenever I do a speech, or I talk to, publicly speak, I like to have my stuff sorted. I know what I'm talking about. So it was a nice one. I'll share it with you.
Yeah, I really want to see it. But I have a question for you. So how are you coming out of a, let's say, sad moment when you're not happy? Like what steps are you actively taking to pull yourself out of that?
Yeah, so I think this is important to mention that this is not always going to work. Sometimes you're in such a bad state that this isn't going to work and you're not going to want to do it. But if you do it, it will actually have a huge impact on you. And this I also learned from Tony Robbins, right? Change your state, right? And how do you change your state? There's 3 steps. First thing is, if you're laying in bed and you're crying, or you're sad, or you're unmotivated, what you do is you lift yourself up, you get your booty up, and you start walking, or you just move, you do a few stretches, or you go for a run. Running is great. And while you're doing this, while you're starting to move, you change your physiology, you also change your focus. So instead of focusing on the negative and on the problem, you start focusing on the solution and on the positive aspects. And then the third step is you change your language, because language is so powerful. How we talk about things, they determine so much. So you change your language and you start relating to that issue or to the way you're feeling differently. And you're trying to counteract the negative thoughts that you have. And I think those are more affirmations, and you know about affirmations. So maybe you want to share a little bit what you think about affirmations. But once you've changed, like the first step is change your physiology. Get up. I know it's hard, especially if you're feeling down. Getting up seems like not the first solution, but get up and change your physiology. Also, Jordan Peterson says, stand up straight, because that's going to give you confidence. And from confidence, you're going to have higher serotonin levels, and then you're going to be happy. And yeah, that's what I want to share. You can share something about affirmations, because I think they're super important.
Yes, absolutely. I didn't really know about affirmations before. Reading You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero. She's amazing. If you haven't read it, like read the book. It's really life-changing. So I didn't really know about affirmations. And obviously, yeah, like I've seen some TikTok videos here and there about like, oh, say this in the mirror. Like, okay, cool. I didn't really know what this is. Once I read the book, I actually kind of shifted my whole perspective. And I actually started saying those things in the mirror, or even like while I'm walking on the street, or just reading them in the morning. And they're like super short sentences like I'm confident, or I don't know, you can say affirmations about money, about relationships, or my life is successful and I'm always on the right path. So they're super like words are very powerful, and it's actually demonstrated scientifically. Words are super powerful. And once you keep saying those things, you rewire your own brain to actually think the opposite. So when you start saying, I'm so confident, and you do that daily, I bet in 5 to 10 days, you can actually feel completely different.
And I would even go for 21 days or a month. Reason why? Oftentimes we are stuck in the negative patterns for so many years. And imagine, like, I'm going to give you my own example, right? I've always, said about myself that I'm not good enough, or I am ugly, let's say, right? So repeating that for years and years and years, I started to believe it. And this is how I would show up in the world, right? And I would be like, people would see me the way I saw myself, right? So if I want to change that belief about myself, I have to repeat those affirmations enough times until I rewire that brain, because it might take more than 10 days.
Yes.
It might half a year, because if you've been repeating the same negative things over and over again for years, you can't expect that you're going to change overnight. Like, you have to put in the work and do them constantly. I recommend 21 days. Write down the affirmations 21 times for 21 days. And if you still need to do the work, then continue. Do a month, do 2 months, do half a year, until you feel like you've rewired your brain and you believe something different about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It takes time, obviously, but you also need to consciously be there and want to change yourself. Because I feel like many people, like, yeah, I mean, even me, I'm guilty of this. Like, oh yes, I'm doing this. And then after like 3 days, I'm getting bored, to be honest. And then I don't want to do it anymore. But then you need to actually be there, like consciously be, okay, I'm changing. I'm doing this for me, for a better me, to get the best version of myself out there. And I think this is also with happiness. You need to consciously want to be happy, but then you need to change your definition, like we said. So once you actually ask yourself, what does happiness mean to me? Because you will see many times when people answer this, and when I answer that, it was all material things. I don't know about you, but for me, it was like, oh, I want to get a dress, I want to get a bag.
Oh, yeah.
And then when you actually take that aside and you start asking yourself, like, okay, what does it actually mean to me? Like, inside of myself, like, how does it look? How does a day in my life look when I'm happy? And then you'll see that it has nothing to do with material things. It's not you going shopping. It's actually you enjoying, I don't know, the sun, the nature and everything. And then I think the change happens when you realize that.
For me, happiness used to be having a huge closet filled with the best bags and the best shoes. And don't get me wrong, I love shoes and I love bags. But now I feel like, okay, I'd rather have less shoes and bags and really enjoy the moment and be with good quality people, But again, you don't have to sacrifice any of them, right? Yeah. You can still enjoy a good bag and a good pair of shoes, but it's just, you also need to find happiness in other things. Like for me now, I see happiness as really making a difference. It makes me so happy when I know I help someone. Like, it just changes my day, it changes my mood. So I know I have certain projects for the future, and whatever I'm working now, I'm working in order to achieve and to be able to do those projects that will ultimately make an impact. So I'm kind of looking at my life differently, and I know that I'm finding happiness in other things. Yeah, again, not bags aren't great. I love bags, but still.
No, but it's absolutely true, like what you said. And I think this is an important reminder and a key takeaway, that your happiness doesn't stay in other people's opinions or validation. And when you realize that, because I mean, even me, when I was in high school, I was always thinking that I need the grades, so my mom would say that I'm amazing, and this it's not good, because after, like, everything you're doing is for other people to validate you. Or like, I'm going to the party so people will think I'm cool. I didn't want to go to the party, but I didn't have enough like in me, and I didn't know that my happiness and what I actually want to do doesn't stay in other, like, it's not like, it doesn't stay in other people's validation. And I think this is very important to remember, because many people struggle with this, and I struggle, and I keep, like, I'm still struggling with to
Oh, I
actually like,
struggle. Like, didn't you see me before we started? I was like, does my hair look good? Let me fix my lipstick. You know, I mean, we all struggle with it a lot. And I think, you know, also the nature of our lives right now, where everything is sort of exposed, that makes us be even more conscious about what other people think. But I think exactly, it starts with family. And I think a lot of people can relate, you know, with maybe having parents that wanted them to be the best or achieve a lot. Or maybe your parents didn't even put pressure on yourself, but you put pressure on yourself. But I feel like with my mom, exactly as you said, I've done a lot of things in school and in high school to sort of make her proud. But the funniest thing is that she was proud of me anyways. And also when I would do those things, like, she wouldn't really notice. It wasn't like, you know, let's say I would get involved in this activity and I would be really successful at it. But she was more like, yeah, but you are like that. Like, you always succeed, and you're a good student, and you're good in everything you do. So it's not that big of a deal. But for me, it was like, oh my God, my mom doesn't appreciate what I've done. But that's not the reality, you know? You don't have to do things for other people. You have to do what makes you happy, what sparks joy in you. And not be so bothered about what other people think, which is, I think, one of the hardest things to master. It's one of the hard. I care about what people think, and I probably will for a long time. But I'm working on it. Not as much as I used to, because we're doing this podcast, and this is already a huge step for me.
yeah.
Like, out there, and I think for you as well. So, but still, there's so many things that there's so many moments where I still get affected about what other people think.
No, absolutely, you know, and I'm thinking that, again, like, not to bash social media. Social media is great, but this is also one of the things that it's happening when you see everyone living their best life online. You associate happiness with that. You associate happiness with being in Bali right now on a yacht or whatever. And I think, again, this is wrong. But in order to actually like be happy with yourself, you need to disconnect from social, okay, yeah, from social media. And I think that's very hard to do, because honestly, I'm spending, like, I don't know if you have a screen time on your phone.
I don't check it on purpose,
but I have like 5 hours on social media, and it's crazy, honestly. Like, this is not healthy.
I did this last summer. Like, last summer, I took my wisdom teeth out, which was a very weird moment to disconnect from social media, because I was laying in bed, like, feeling so bad, and I didn't have what to do because I didn't have any more Instagram or Facebook. But I was like, okay, I'm gonna go on a 1-week social media cleanse. And the first 3 days were so awkward, because I would take out my phone. I still had WhatsApp because I needed to still communicate with some people. But I would take out my phone, and my finger would go to the place where Instagram was, like, automatically. And then I would be like, oh my God, I don't have Instagram anymore. So it was such an automatized behavior I had, but I felt so good for a week to completely disconnect. It felt great. And then, of course, I went back to it and haven't done the cleanse since. But I think it's important that, you know, every once in a while, just take a little pause, take a little break. Hannah, we both know Hannah now.
We love you, Hannah.
She does that sometimes. She would just put her phone away and disconnect. And I think it's so amazing to just have some moments for yourself and be with yourself without going on your phone and without answering messages.
You know, like, I have a friend as well. And when I met her like a while ago, and she's like, oh, I don't have Instagram. I don't know. We came to talk about that. She's like, and I was like, what do you mean you don't have Instagram? I'm like, what is that? You know? She's like, oh, no, like, I deleted my Instagram because I was meeting all my friends. And to be honest, I didn't have anything to talk to them because I saw everything on their stories. So I felt like, you know, it's time for me to disconnect from this and just delete my social media. And for me, because this was like, a year ago, I was so, what? Like, how can she do that? But I was so proud. I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. And I'm really like open here. I'm scared to do that. I'm really scared to delete my account. And I don't know why is that. It's just like something in me that I need to always like check, not even checking other people, just opening the app. But this also has a negative impact on your mental health if you don't know how to deal with it. And you don't even think, like, it's all subconsciously. You don't even know that this is happening. And it's crazy.
what I've done with social media is I've unfollowed certain people that weren't necessarily bringing me joy. And it's not to say that those are bad people. It's just that when I would look at their feed, I would feel maybe insecure, or I would feel like my life isn't cool enough or great enough or whatever. And I followed accounts that make me feel good. So I followed a lot of personal development people, a lot of quote pages and motivation pages. So whenever I'm scrolling on Instagram, which doesn't happen a lot, like I post on Instagram, but I don't necessarily scroll through Instagram as much lately. I've been very, very busy. So I've just been posting and answering DMs, but like not really scrolling through Instagram. But if I do scroll, then I see, you know, the people that I like, my friends, my acquaintances, and then people that really motivate me and that make me feel good. So I think that's a good, if you're not willing to completely delete your social media, then at least clean it up a bit and see which accounts spark joy and make you feel good and which don't really make you feel good. Because at the end of the day, it's your account. Like you decide what's going to appear on it, you know?
Yeah, I completely agree. And something else I think related to this topic is this toxic positivity, if you know what I mean. I think this is also has to do with happiness. Why? Because toxic positivity is all the people, not all the people, but the people that also say good vibes, you know, like good vibes only, all good vibes, all positivity. And I am actually like guilty of this. I used to say that quite often, like good vibes only, like this kind of, and I realized that it's not okay because we cannot be happy all the time. It cannot all the time be good vibes only or positivity all times. Sometimes we're sad and we should actually acknowledge the feelings we have.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. You know what? When you don't acknowledge your sad feelings, your feelings of anger, resentment, judgment, whatever they are, you bury them in, and they're gonna come out and haunt you at another time. So yesterday, for example, when I was having this conversation, I started crying like out of nowhere. Like we hit a soft spot, and I started crying, and I let myself cry, and it was so nice. Like I felt so good afterwards. But then I was like, okay, I'm crying. I let it out, but that's an area that I need to work on. So starting tomorrow, we're gonna start working on that area. But let yourself cry. And I think me and Hannah used to do this all the time back in Barcelona. And we always talk about it. We're like, oh, we miss our chats on the couch, because we would sometimes go and sit down on our couch and drink tea and talk about our day. And we would just cry it out and hug it out. And then we would be able to move forward. And I think it's nice to have a crying sesh every once in a while, even daily.
Definitely.
Because if you keep putting it inside, then at some point you're going to explode, and you're going to explode on people that you don't want to explode on. If you're in a relationship, you're going to explode on your partner. You're going to explode towards your family members or your friends or at work. And you don't want to explode in those situations. You let it out and then you move on, I think, and you try to feel better.
No, definitely. And I actually realized this toxic positivity that I said I'm also guilty of, because before, you know, somebody would come to me with like small, not something bad happening, like tragic, but you know, when something minor happens and you make a tragedy out of it. And I was kind of like, oh, you know, like it's fine, like good vibes only. And I realized that this is not okay what I'm doing, you know, like you should feel like you are allowed to feel whatever you're feeling. And it's something that I worked on myself. And I think, everyone is kind of guilty of this more than others, but I think it's so important to, like you said, to acknowledge the feelings and just be like, just okay, you know what, whatever you're feeling, you're allowed to feel it, but like you said, you need to work on it after. But don't like, this is very bad. And this is, again, not to bash social media, I love you Instagram, but again, what we see online, it's all happy people. Nobody actually post their struggles, nobody posts them crying, they post only happy memories and happy faces and happy whatever, which is awesome because we're all allowed to do whatever we want. But sometimes if we're not strong enough, we will feel that this is how it's supposed to be every day. And then I think that's where also, again, like this battle within ourselves comes from, that, oh, all these people are happy, why I'm not happy? Like I cannot be sad right now, like I have everything, I have a house, I have food, like why am I sad, you know? And this is wrong. Like I think everyone has their own problems, and nobody's allowed to say you don't have problems because you're privileged. No, like everyone should feel what they're feeling. What do you think?
I'm guilty of this kind of posting. Let's say I've had moments when I would, let's say have an argument with someone or feel really bad, and then post a picture where I'm smiling and looking like I'm super happy. And I would feel inside of me when I would post that picture, I would be like, oh my God, that's so weird. Like, why are you posting this happy picture when you've literally just had a fight with someone? You know, but we do it because we kind of want to conceal the fact that we're not perfect or we don't have it all figured out through the pictures that we post. And I think, you know, that's going to happen from now on anyways. Like, we're not always going to be happy, but we need to be aware that not everything we see online is actually the way we see it. So not everyone is always happy, and maybe that picture was taken a week ago.
Yeah.
And you have no idea what that person is going through right now.
No, absolutely. Sorry to cut you. Like, that's what I was also saying, that we need to start being aware. And the moment we start being aware, it won't influence us that much. Sorry to cut you.
No, that's exactly what I wanted to say. So you're aware when you're looking that not everything is as it appears.
Yeah, that's true.
And also, I like that, you know, I also like that Instagram has become a little bit more relaxed, let's say, and there's more people showing their true selves and showing their struggle. I think everyone loves to see that because you can relate, because you're not perfect, and your body is not perfect always. Let's talk about that, because we always compare ourselves to people on Instagram. I remember this one time I got my makeup done professionally, and I looked in the mirror and I was like, wow, I look so good, right? And then it hit me like, oh my God, every time I look on Instagram and I see these models that are wearing a full face of makeup, they're, you know, they have a fake tan on, they have the perfect angle, and I'm sitting in my PJs with zero makeup on, with my hair a bit dirty, and I'm comparing myself to them in that moment. Isn't it a bit ridiculous to compare ourselves? What if we were all dolled up and had all the same things that they had in that picture? Even then, we shouldn't compare ourselves. But let's not compare ourselves when we're in our PJs and we see a supermodel fully glammed up, you know?
I agree. No, I agree. But you know what they're doing now? And I think that's really amazing, that they come out clean more, and they post like no makeup selfies, and they post about like body positivity and all that. And I think that's actually amazing. And I think that also, like, thanks to social media, they are able to do that, because before it was very like, you know, they're on a pedestal and they're here and nobody can touch them. But now they come more as a human, as humans. So I think that's really, really important. And I think that's really nice what they're doing, to be honest.
Because we're all human and we all have the same primary needs. We all want to feel, you know, we all want to be loved, and we want to be accepted. And everything we ultimately do is to achieve those things, to be loved and to be accepted. But a lot of the times we go to extremes and we do things that don't necessarily make us happy just to get approval from others. So if we're on the topic of happiness, I think that's important to mention. Do what makes you happy. And in order to know what makes you happy, take a few moments to reflect and think, what actually makes me happy? I had this conversation with my sister like a few weeks ago. We were having a sleepover, and that's what we do sometimes. We have sleepovers and we end up talking for like hours. And I told her, like, listen, I feel like my definition of happiness has changed so much. And I'm like, when I was 12, I had this definition of happiness, and now I have a completely different definition of happiness. I feel like something is crumbling inside me. Like, do you think that's right? And then she goes, you know what I think? I think you're growing up. I think you're becoming more mature and more realistic. You can't, you know, have the same mindset that you had when you were 12, 13, 14, 16, you know? Now you're more grown up. You've been through more things. Oh my God, we're going to go through so many more things as well in the future. But right now, the way I see happiness is so different. And I'm sure things will change throughout the years, through experience, through, you know, acquiring wisdom. I was thinking about this podcast. I was thinking, you know, we're young and maybe we don't have the wisdom of a 50, 60-year-old, but I think we're much more relatable because we're in it right now. We're going through it. We're going through the struggle. We're trying to navigate life, which I think that, I hope a lot of our listeners can relate with.
No, I agree. And to be honest, I was thinking so many times that I wish I had this kind of podcast when I was in high school, or this kind of people talking to me about these issues, because I had to do it alone, and it's not a problem that you have to do it alone, but you don't feel like you relate to other people, like you said. And I feel like that's so important to be able to relate to other people now that we're at this age, because when we're going to be like 35, 40, we won't be that relatable. I mean, Gary Vee, like, he's very relatable, but because he knows, like, he still can put himself in our shoes. But many people cannot, so they can just give advice, which is also very useful. But I think it's important to also be kind of in the moment and acknowledge all the things people at our age are going through, and just being able to, like, kind of help them somehow.
And even younger people, like if anyone that is younger than 20, let's say, and you're listening to this, I think that also when you're a teenager, you don't really want to be vulnerable or share with your friends what you're going through. You want to look good. You want to make it seem like everything is perfect. You're chasing that cool, that cool vibe. So I think, I hope that this podcast can make you understand that it's okay not to be 100% perfect, and you decide what's cool. By the way, you decide what's cool, and being happy is cool. Doing what you feel like doing is cool.
It's very cool.
Saying no sometimes is cool. Like, and ultimately, what makes you happy? Meditate on that. I don't mean say meditate. I mean, think about it. Like, focus and think about it. What makes you happy? What brings you joy? And go after that. And do the things that make you happy.
Yeah. I couldn't have said it any better. Like, honestly, this is so important. And saying no, it's actually not a problem. Don't give anyone an excuse. Like, I used to say that. I used to be like, oh, no, I can't. I'm really sorry. I can't. I have this, and that. I don't have to say that. I mean, yes, sometimes you have to, but I didn't necessarily have to. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I'm still guilty of that. Like, I still do that a lot, but I used to do it much more in the past. I would have to find excuses for saying no. But have you read this book, The Life-Changing Magic of Not Giving a Fuck?
No, I read The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck by Mark Manson, but not.
But this one is so good. It actually teaches you to say no. You should. I mean, everyone should read it. It's a very fun. It's written in a really funny way, and it's quite practical. So, yeah, saying no is very important for your peace of mind. And you'll see that when you say yes to things that you don't want to do or you're not comfortable with, you're not going to enjoy them. You're going to go there for someone else, and you're going to feel miserable. And you're going to resent that person, by the way. Like, it's such a nice cycle, isn't it? You're not happy, and then you project that on someone else, and then you feel resentment towards that person. You don't treat her nicely, and that person, resents you, and you're kind of in this weird little circle. And ultimately, it's about you.
Yeah.
Focusing on you, what you can do right now, how you can grow right now, how you can find your happiness. And then I think things just align. They align much easier when you're happy. Good things come to you.
Yeah, because I completely agree.
Better energy.
Yes, I completely agree with that. Energy is so important, and it's very important for you to actually understand. Like, I think we touched upon that last episode, but understand what energy is good for you. And that's super important. And that comes from what you said, from knowing yourself, from asking yourself questions, from actually knowing what you want and how you are going to be happy. And then the energy is going to align with what you want to do.
And I think in order to have better energy as well, you need to have good, productive habits, good routines. And I think we should make a whole episode on routines and habits, and how you can internalize habits, and how you can create routines, because ultimately our life is a series of routines, and they can be of help or they can be in our detriment, right? So if we manage to, start, for example, with a good morning routine where we take time for ourselves, where we drink water, where we have a good balanced breakfast, where we exercise a little bit, where maybe we read something that empowers us, and we try to minimize the habits that are not as great, like excessive drinking, excessive smoking, drugs, things like that, then ultimately our energy will be much higher. And then saying no, surrounding ourselves with people that bring us joy or that we feel comfortable around, finding an occupation and a job that we enjoy, all these things, they come hand in hand, and you kind of need to have a whole balance. There's a lot of pieces that need to align together, but that's a process, so you work towards them. And I think we should do a whole episode on routines, habits.
I agree.
And a balanced life in general.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree completely with what you said. And I think it's so important to take this routine, because this can also help you and speed up the process as well.
Yeah.
And I think that's very important.
And I have one more idea, actually. This came through. An accountability buddy. Have someone that keeps you accountable. Like, for example, me and you, we keep each other accountable. I also have other friends that, you know, we share things with each other and we're accountable and we talk about what's happening and give each other advice and things like that. But let, you know, a person you trust from your life, a friend, a family member, know that you're trying to work on yourself and keep that and make that person keep you accountable. Tell them, listen, I want you to make sure that I meditated this morning. I want you to make sure that I did my affirmations, that I had my 2 liters of water, that I went and exercised, that I talk, you know, positively about myself, that I'm, you know, being mindful and giving back. Like, just have someone that keeps you accountable. That makes it so much easier.
But what do you suggest to people that don't have that person, for example, or they don't have anyone in their life right now that they can really like talk about these things or help them?
Find a mentor online as well. So look for someone that you, let's say in personal development or in spirituality, there's so many, you know, people that are preaching a lot of thoughts. So look at them and watch their work and read books and seek those people, because this is a very important thing. When you start, you know, being part of communities like personal development communities, right? Or you put yourself in a situation where you're going to find those people. Let's say Tony Robbins, I'm giving this advice because when I went to a Tony Robbins seminar, I was with 5,000 other people that were all working on themselves, right? And we still keep in touch. We had this team we were in, and we have a group chat, and periodically we do Zoom calls, accountability Zoom calls, to make sure everyone's on the right track and giving each other advice. Shout out to my Date with Destiny fam. I know some of them listened to my first episode, supporting me, but having, you know, putting yourself in environments where you can find those people, Facebook groups, you know, signing up for a course. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do where you can find and reach out to those people, and never be afraid to reach out. This is what I talked about with my friend Josie yesterday. We haven't talked in years, and she reached out to me. And had she not reached out, I don't think we would have realized how many things we have in common and how much we grew up very similarly, you know? So reach out to people. Don't be afraid to reach out. This is what Miss Hannah Olsen taught me. So thank you, Hannah, for that. You taught me how to reach out to people and never be afraid to say hi.
I think that's very important, because even me, like I won't be so comfortable saying hi, you know, but I think that's very important to come out of your shell and just take a step, because it's for your own good. And people are nice. Most of the people are nice. So, you know, I think it's really nice advice.
And you reached out to me, right, to do this podcast.
Yeah,
had you
I
reached out to me, who knows when we would have done this podcast.
That's
I don't know
true.
when. But you reached out to me, and I'm so grateful for that.
Yeah.
I adore people who reach out, and reach out to us as well. We're here, and I'm reaching out all the time and trying to support people the best way I can. That's what it's about. So seek those people that will keep you accountable if you don't have them in your life. I think that's the bottom line. Look for them. Put yourself in environments that are gonna help you find those people.
Yeah.
Wow, this was a good episode. I feel like we've shared so much.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like I'm so excited that we're doing this and hopefully helping other people. And like Maddy said, don't be afraid to reach out, please. Like nobody bites, and we're actually very happy to help you, whatever you're going through. So that's really, really nice. Thank you for this advice.
Yeah, I think it's going to be such a nice journey, this podcast. I'm excited. I feel like there's going to be so many different topics, and I don't know what you think, but maybe in the future we could even bring on guests.
Oh yes, I'd love that.
Insights and how they've overcome certain situations and how they're, you know, successful in whatever they're doing right now. I think
I'd love that.
A fabulous journey.
Yes. Well, I guess this is it for today, and we'll see you next week with another episode. So stay tuned.
Stay tuned and let us know what you think. Message us, give us feedback. We're always looking for that. And have a fabulous day, morning, afternoon, evening, whenever you're listening to this.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. Bye, darling.